Hi, everyone. My name is Leah Berdysz, and I am a social worker, entrepreneur, and author of Conscious Empowerment, a guide to helping girls build self-esteem and confidence. I'm also super excited because right now I'm working on a life skills curriculum for young people. But in addition to all of those things, I'm also very nervous to be up here right now. So what I want you to do with me is a little exercise that I have students do when they're feeling overwhelming or intense emotions. And it's called either box breathing or square breathing. So what I want you to do is I want you to take 2 fingers and put them out in front of you. Okay, we're gonna breathe in for 4 seconds, we're going to hold it for 4 seconds, and we are going to breathe out for 4 seconds. And then we will reset, just like up on the slide. So let's begin. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. Reset. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. Reset. And one more just for good measure. Breathe in, hold, and reset. Oh, breathe out. And reset. All right. Thanks for doing that with me. So the Surgeon General put out an advisory in 2021 that we are in the state of a mental health crisis when it comes to young people. In fact, 1 in 5 children ages 3 to 17 have a mental, developmental, or behavioral disability. That is really alarming. I want you to just go ahead and look at one section of the audience. That's roughly 20% of this audience. And that is the amount of people, if you were to think about a child being in every seat, that are struggling today. That's a really large amount, and we need to do something about it. But what we know is that the number one protective factor linked to resilience for a child is that of a caring adult, somebody who is sensitive, nurturing, and responsive. So even as somebody who works in this field, I sometimes get confused because they seem very, very similar. So I want to break it down for you and help you to understand each one of these things a little bit better. Sensitive, that is the senses and the impact of the environment and how they feel. So your eyes, ears, mouth, nose, and touch. So say that there's a kiddo that comes in and the light is too bright. Something that could help them is dimming the light. When it comes to nurturing, that's somebody that is consistently warm and safe with a desire to help them grow. And the main point here is being consistent and willing to help them grow. Finally is responsive. And this is what we can do as adults to act and to help them problem solve and allow them to have the resources to change their situation. So, for example, if a child is hungry, giving them something to eat to help them calm themselves. So the majority of the work that I've done is surrounding the confidence crisis of young women. And 7 in 10 girls believe that they do not measure up in some type of way. You might be wondering, measure up, what do you mean by measure up? Well, I mean just about anything in that general sense of measuring up. Girls just don't feel like they're good enough. Not good enough at school, with the friends and families, with the relationships that they're in. And also, we've seen an 86 to 60% decline in self-rated confidence among middle school women. And that is, again, a very alarming statistic. I want you to consider grades. If you had an 86%, that's roughly what? A B, B plus? Not too bad, right? But a 60%, depending on the scale that you're looking at, that is a D to an F. Going from a B to a D or an F, again, not so great, right? So it is my mission to help young women and do something about these statistics to change them. So I recently wrote a book called Conscious Empowerment, a guide to helping girls build self-esteem and confidence. And what we know is that a one-size-fits-all approach just doesn't work. So I made it my mission to figure out how socioeconomic status, race, cultural background, and all of those different factors play a role in the development of self-esteem and confidence. And then what I did is I interviewed about 30 people who are experts in this area or who are from diverse backgrounds because I know that I don't have all the answers on my own. And then I came up with chapters that are trending. So just as you heard in the last speech, social media is super popular right now. And for young people, those trending topics are the things that are coming up over and over and over again. So the chapters were based on the things that came up over and over and over again when I was interviewing people. So today what I want to share with you is what each one of those chapters means, why it's important, an example from my personal life, how to implement that in your life, and a reflection. So I want you to take just a moment to think about a young person in your life who you might be able to be that caring adult for. Be that adult is number one. This means that we are a lighthouse for somebody. One of the interviewees for my book said you need to be a lighthouse, not a helicopter or a snowplow. That means sometimes just getting out of the way. For me, that example was my mom, who is here with us today. And I want you to think about who that example was for you. Who was that caring individual in your life that supported you in your growth? And this is important because we're going to come back to it at the end. So if for you that was an adult or a parent or a guardian, raise your hand. Okay, if it was a teacher, raise your hand. Any other family member, go ahead and raise your hand. Thank you. You can put your hands down. So keep that person in mind for the end. Now, to be that adult, it's important to, again, remember those protective factors, to be sensitive, nurturing, and responsive. Number 2 is exposure. Exposure to various people, places, and experiences. Why? Because education empowers. For me, that example was going to the greenhouse yearly and traveling. But what we know is that not everybody has the same resources to be able to do those things. However, it's really awesome because in our communities, there are so many free events and places to go. You could go to the library or simply for a walk around the block. So again, I want you to take a moment and think about how you can expose the person that you had in mind and help them to cultivate their passions and their strengths. Number 3 is representation. And this is because to see it, we must believe it. We must challenge the media. So representation could be in the media, it could be in the schools, or it could be in the career too. Because again, we want young people to see themselves in the careers that they aspire to one day go into. The example that I have here is Molly. You might notice her as an American Girl doll. That's who I had growing up. But the great thing is nowadays, there are more American Girls that you can make that are lookalikes, so everybody can feel represented. And actually, I have a real cute story. One of my very best friends, I was on the phone with her the other day, and she shared with me that the girl's uncle bought her an American Girl. And she said, Mommy, I'm so excited because my American Girl looks just like me. She has glasses, and she had just recently gotten glasses. And this was really important, again, because she saw somebody who looked like her. So now I want you to think about how you can invite representation into the life of the young person that you have in your mind. Number 4 is affirmations. So an affirmation could be verbal, it could be written. Basically what you're doing is you are encouraging somebody with an affirmation. But the thing is, it must align with your values or the values of the person that you're trying to empower. And it helps them to learn their passions and strengths. So for me, an affirmation would have been, Leah, I saw that you were working so hard for your show choir performance, my show choir days in high school. Great job up on the stage. But what maybe wouldn't work so well for me would have been, hey, Leah, great job at basketball, because we know I'm not very good at basketball. I actually didn't learn a layup until college, which is a little embarrassing, but, we're not all perfect and can't be good at everything. But, again, the other thing is to remember the importance of affirming from the inside out. Because oftentimes we find it easier to just say, you're really beautiful, your hair looks really good. And while those things aren't bad, it is important to look at what's on the inside because the inside does count. So saying you're really brave, you're very hardworking, you're very athletic. Those are things that you can do to affirm a young person. So again, I want you to call to mind how you might be able to affirm in your life. Next is be seen. So be seen seems a little bit more confusing at first, but what it means is giving somebody the power to be authentically themselves, even if that might be challenging for you. So it's allowing them to be exactly who they are, and in order to do this, we must challenge our own biases. So the example that I have on my cap from my graduation in college is Empowered and Poised, the organization which I founded the same week that I graduated, which is one of the reasons that I'm up here today. And thank you, because I'm very, very grateful to be here today. Now, at first, I think my mom was a little taken back. She was a little bit hesitant about me becoming an entrepreneur because, in her estimation, that might mean that there was a little bit less stability. And rightfully so, especially if that's not the path that you've taken. However, she continued to encourage me, and I was able to pursue my passion and do the things that I wanted, which again, helped to empower me. So what I want you to consider is how you can challenge your biases and what biases you might hold that would prevent a young person from becoming successful. Last, but certainly not least, is sports and fitness. So sports, of course, are kind of those things that you always think about, that you could build skills like teamwork, falling and getting back up, or cooperation. But when it comes to fitness, this is really important, and here's why. When you think about that 20% from the beginning, what we know is that individuals with mental health challenges are more likely to be in a fight, flight, or freeze. So when they get active, any kind of active, not having to be a sport, it could be so much as going for a walk. It helps them to regulate their bodies and get out of that fight, flight, or freeze to then be able to think more clearly. So what I want you to do is consider, how can you encourage an active lifestyle? So again, these 6 things are: 1, be that adult; 2, exposure; 3, representation; 4, affirmations; 5, be seen; and 6, sports and fitness. So now what I want you to do is go back to that adult in your mind from the beginning who empowered you growing up. What would your life look like if that person didn't exist? If the doors were not open because of them? Just consider that for a moment. Your life would probably be a lot different. But you have the power to empower and truly change a life for the better. Thank you.